They have to pretend that he is in charge and he knows what he's doing. Because if they don't do that, they know he'll walk away. The U.S. will walk away from Europe, from NATO, from Ukraine, and will just wash their hands of it. And that's what they're trying to avoid.
So I just played you the audio, and you wrote a great article on your Substack about this, on why you think Joe Scarborough is wrong. Now, we would, assume that this happens from the right. We expect that from the right to criticize Gavin Newsom. But right. Joe Scarborough, what did you make of this, Ron?
Nobody clips that show, Morning Joe, because nothing ever is useful that happens on that show. There's never any news broken. Right. I mean, he gets some good guests, don't get me wrong, but most of the show is listening to him and Mika, interrupt the guests and ramble and tell the same dumbass stories over and over for 20 years, So none of the people who do clips on social media even bother watching it. So how did I see it? I saw it from Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is the one who posted the clip, and said look, even Gavin Newsom thinks, even Joe Scarborough thinks Gavin Newsom is being a clown. And I'm like, oh, well, if Charlie Kirk is posting you're not doing things well, Mr. Scarborough. So, I listened to it. And it's just, he's so out of touch with the party, the base, what's happening in the world. He's in this little bubble where, they live in Florida and in DC and New York, and they're in the Hamptons. And, I don't know when was the last time he's actually been out into the country, the real country. And I know he always tells these stories of his family from Alabama and stuff, but that's 12 people, get out into the country and talk to people. And I know he's very anti-social media and all that. He's, he says it's not the real world. Well, guess what? It wasn't maybe in 1996 when most of his political relevance occurred, but it is today, because tens of millions of Americans are on social media in one form or another, not necessarily political, but one form or another. So this trolling operation by Newsom has been brilliant. And first of all, when he says he needs to talk about the issues, Newsom has his own personal page that is not doing this stuff.
Yeah.
His personal page is all about issues, all about policy, all about the stuff that Scarborough complains that he should be talking about. He does. I'm on his email list. I get policy stuff from him every single day. Mm-hmm. And he does interviews about policy every day. So this is a separate account. This is a team of 4 or 5 people that he's hired. Right. Running this account just specifically to troll Trump by holding up a mirror to what Trump posts every day and making fun of it and mocking it. So it's not actually Newsom himself, although supposedly he approves everything that goes out. So, and
the right is losing their mind, right, Ron? And I got to be honest with you, even in some of his speeches in the last few weeks, I like this Gavin Newsom. And you and I were both frustrated, as many others were, at the podcast he did with Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. I did not like that Gavin Newsom. I like this Gavin Newsom. I think he's approaching it the right way. And by the way, other Democrats should take a page from this playbook, because not only are people on the left loving it, but it shows you who the real snowflakes are here. These people on the right, they can't handle it.
Yeah, what are we going to wait for another statement from Schumer tomorrow about something that happened 3 days ago? Or, Jeffries, who speaks in slogans, look, we have all these governors that are out there that are going to run for president. Whitmer, Shapiro, Westmore, probably, there's a whole bunch of them. And Pritzker, and, there aren't really any of them out there doing that much. They're running their states. They're focused on their states, and that's fine. But we desperately need a national leader. Kamala Harris is checked out. Obama's checked out. He's working on his library. There isn't anybody there. There's a leadership vacuum. And so this guy steps up to the plate, takes on Trump head on, personal insults, everything else, going right at him, driving Fox crazy. Fox programming for 48 hours, 72 hours has been nothing but crying about Newsom.
Right.
Same thing with the right wingers. So, and Trump was up at 12:07 in the morning this morning posting about Newsom. So obviously this is getting under his skin. So yeah, this is to criticize this is just asinine. It's like, of all the things that you can criticize about Democrats, you're going to criticize the first thing that's been effective in like a year.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So, Ron, Donald Trump is doing an interview earlier today, and he's bragging about the possibility today of going on patrol in D.C., which I find utterly idiotic. What do you make of this?
Yeah, this is wild. I mean, I don't know when he came up with this idea. You know, he goes on Todd Starnes' radio show, which is a relatively small audience, and it's radio, not podcast or TV. There's no video. And he makes this like announcement that he's going out with the National Guard tonight. And which is like, I mean, like really big news. The president of the United States is going to go out with the National Guard and patrol the streets of DC, supposedly. You know, I posted the clip, and I had one of my followers responded like the last time somebody threw a rock at the White House, this bitch ran down to the basement. You know, that's what the guy said. So now he's supposed to. So, you know, this is going to be like very heavily. I mean, there's going to be like 1 million people. This is going to cost a fortune. It's going to be a big production. What I'm wondering is like, is he going to do like Nome did and actually like, they're going to bring him into the scene where somebody's being arrested? Because that's what I think. I don't know. But my speculation is like they have somebody specific who's probably a really bad dude with arrest warrants and everything else that they have in mind. And they're going to go grab that person because they kind of know where he is. And Trump's going to like roll in there and act like the big badass. And,
yeah,
you know,
so he's Christy Noam. He's going to be like,
what's he going to wear? That's the other question. Is he going to wear like some camo or, you know, National Guard? Is he going to wear a badge and a helmet? You know, it's just this administration is just, from the workout videos and the paintings on the walls, it's just one nonstop reality show for these people.
You're right. It is. And to make matters even worse, in that interview that we are talking about from earlier today, he now wants another 2 weeks when asking about, you know, the Russia-Ukraine war and the possibility of, you know, even a ceasefire, let alone ending the war, and whether Vladimir Putin will even meet with Zelensky. And now it appears from the Kremlin's point of view, it's probably not going to happen. And now Trump is asking for another 2 weeks, as he always does.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I follow very closely and write about every day. And I follow a lot of Ukrainian media, Russian media, German media, Polish media, you know, lots of European media. So I keep pretty close tabs on this stuff because you're not really going to get much accurate reporting, good reporting on this stuff from U.S. media, some like Wall Street Journal, because their foreign policy editor is Russian. He came to the United States from Russia many years ago. So he gets it, and their reporting on it is good. So here's what's going on. You know, Trump made all these significant progress. The meeting in Alaska was a disaster. Yep. The European leaders all flew to D.C. because they were in a panic. Merloni leaves her vacation in the middle of it because the summit in Alaska went so bad. Caroline Leavitt spins it as the reason why they rushed to D.C. was because Trump made so much progress towards peace with Putin in Alaska that they wanted to jump all over it. That's the opposite of true. The true is Alaska was such a disaster that they freaked out and flew to DC. So then Trump comes out of those meetings and after claiming he talked to Putin by claiming, oh, you know, significant progress is made and all that. Then last night, Sergei Lavrov, who is the foreign minister for Russia, goes out and says, no, there's no, you know, he says he has the exact same demands as they've had for the last 3 years. Zelensky has to submit to an election or they won't meet with Zelensky because they don't consider him a legitimate president, right? So that's number one. They won't even meet with him. They want territorial concessions. They want China to be part of, have a veto power over any U.S. European security arrangements with Ukraine. They want the Chinese and Russia to have veto power over whatever that is. So in other words, if we want to like install a missile defense system or Germany wants to put troops into Ukraine, they can veto it under the agreement. I mean, that's ridiculous. So these are all the same things that they've been demanding for 3 years. So Lavrov comes out and says that, So Trump knows, like, he literally knows this is going absolutely nowhere. It's not going to happen, and it's certainly not going to happen anytime soon. So he goes on this radio show and he's asked, and he gives his standard response whenever he knows something is not going to happen anytime soon. He says, we'll know in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this too, because Caroline Leavitt and others in Trump's administration have been bragging about the fact that all these NATO leaders got on a plane and Trump is the only person that could get them to do this. But yet my thoughts are the reason why they were there is not because of the respect they have for Donald Trump, because they're backing Zelensky, and they wanted to be there to make sure that Putin's demands, whatever they are fair. And I feel like they were all there to back Zelensky so he didn't get bullied. And the Trump administration is making it out to be Trump is the only guy that could get all these world leaders in a room within 48 hours. What's your take on that? Do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's so obvious. You know, the frustrating thing about what's happening with the European leaders and Trump is that they have to play this game with him where they have to pretend to respect him. They have to pretend that he is in charge and he knows what he's doing. Because if they don't do that, they know he'll walk away. The U.S. will walk away from Europe, from NATO, from Ukraine, and will just wash their hands of it. And that's what they're trying to avoid. So they know that the price that they have to pay to keep Donald Trump in the fold is to kiss his ass. They have to praise him. They have to say how wonderful he is, how great he's doing, how much good work he's doing. And so the frustrating part for Americans who understand that he's a fool is that we do have all of these respected leaders from Europe with good reputations who know what they're doing, who are getting used. They're getting used by the Trump administration for domestic propaganda because they're forced to come here and say those things, even to Trump, even though they don't believe them.
Right.
And Zelensky is too, because if Zelensky told the truth or ever said what he really thinks about Trump and Trump's policies, that would be it. You know, they'd be finished with getting anything from the United States. So they can't tell the truth. So what happens is they're forced to come here and say all this BS. The people in their countries know that they don't really mean it. But the Trump administration and Leavitt then takes those quotes and clips and they use them domestically to tell the American people, look how much these leaders love and respect Trump. So it's all just BS. It's all theater, but it's the game that they've figured out that they have to play.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Did I hear it right on this radio show this morning that Trump said he got us out of 10 world conflicts or wars? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I mean these things are ridiculous when they start listing them. So he was asked about that. You know, he brought it up because he claimed like six was like a few days ago. And then yesterday he came out and said he ended 7 wars. I mean, you can just go through them. I mean, the one in the Congo he claimed, you know, another one was like Armenia and Azerbaijan. And another one was India, Pakistan, when, if you remember, the Indian foreign minister was so outraged that he actually came out and gave an interview and issued a statement saying Donald Trump and the Trump administration had absolutely nothing to do with our negotiations with Pakistan. They were not involved. And I think that that's the reason why Trump ended up slapping tariffs on them over them buying Russian oil, was specifically because of that they repudiated. See, this is the lesson this is the message that he sends to people is, if you don't agree that I get all the credit, we're gonna hit you with a penalty, you know, and the penalty on India is a 50% tariff on everything from their country. And the excuse he gives is, we're doing this because they're buying Russian oil. Well, so is Brazil. Well, so is China. We didn't do anything to them, you know. Right. So yeah, I mean, so he goes on this radio show and Starnes asks him about this ending 7 wars, and he says, well, actually, you know, somebody pointed out to me that it's probably more like 10. He goes, because there was 3 wars that ended that we ended that I didn't even know about. You know? So the man is like taking credit for ending wars that he didn't even know were happening, supposedly.
unbelievable, but I guess you could say, Ron, not surprising. What do you got going on your Substack today that people could look forward to reading? By the way, your write-up on Scarborough was awesome. What do you got going on today?
Yeah, obviously, I had to cover that, but a lot of the stuff about California and Texas, the redistricting stuff, I think the vote on so Texas just passed their, by the way, people wondered, I'll give you this little piece of news, like people wondered, why did the Texas legislatures go back, and why didn't they wait until the 30-day special session expired? Because Texas was just going to call another special session, and the deadline for California to be able to respond is tomorrow. In other words, like to get the ballot and the initiative on the ballot for the November election in California under California law, it has to be to the legislature has to pass the resolution and get it to the Secretary of State by tomorrow. So that probably explains why the Texas legislators went back so Texas could go ahead and do it, because that they had California to respond. They're like waiting to the last minute. So that's vote is supposedly happening this afternoon in California, where they're going to pass that resolution. It's going to go to the Secretary of State, be on the November ballot in California to allow them to redistrict. And then the question is going to be, whether the voters in California are going to agree to it. But these are all the hoops that Democratic states have to jump through because of these independent commissions being set up that Republican states don't have to jump through because they don't have independent redistricting commissions. So they just do what they want in a power grab, and Democrats have to go to the voters and get it approved.
What a mess. What an absolute mess this whole situation is. Thank you, Greg Abbott, by the way. Ron, always a pleasure having you on, my friend. Good to have you back. We'll catch you on the show next week. Keep up the great work. By the way, Adam Mockler did another great job on CNN last night. I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah, I did. Mockler's killing it, man. He's everywhere.
He's awesome. He's awesome. All you guys are killing it. Ron, I appreciate your time, my friend. Have a good weekend. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right. See you.
Take care. Ron Filipkowski, everybody. One of the best in the business.